He left his wife for a younger woman, but karma had other plans. With his whole life, Ethan had been a guy who had always thought that he was destined for greatness. When he was 45 years old, he was the chief executive officer of a prosperous technology business. He lived in a beautiful estate in the hills, and he was married to Clara, a lady who had been there for him through every high and low. She was the sort of lady that made everyone around her feel like they were recognized and respected. Clara was a woman who was elegant, educated, and compassionate. However, as time went on, Ethan had a restless disposition. Even though he was unable to pinpoint exactly what it was that he was lacking, he had the impression that he was missing something. After that, he happened to meet her Sophia at a business event. She was 25 years old, bright, and brimming with life. He felt like a king since she listened to every word he said, laughed at his jokes, and followed his every move. Sophia exemplified all of the qualities that Clara did not possess. She was impetuous, adventurous, and unabashedly brave. He was completely enthralled. In a few months, he made the choice that would alter the course of his life. Irrevocably, he abandoned Clara in favor of Sophia. A messy divorce was the result. Although she was inconsolable, Clara did not engage in a fight with him. Despite the fact that Ethan could see the anguish in her eyes, she accepted her portion of the assets and went on with her life. He assured himself that it was for the best. After all, he deserved to be happy, didn't he just? After Sophia moved into the mansion, Ethan had a period of time in which he felt as if he was on top of the world. On the other hand, fractures started to appear almost quickly. Having Sophia around was a lot of work. She insisted on receiving luxury trips, costly presents, and close attention at all times. For her, the only thing that mattered was the lifestyle that Ethan could provide for her. She had no interest in Ethan's profession or his goals. At the same time, Ethan's business started having difficulties. The outcome of a significant transaction was unsuccessful, and allegations of poor management began to spread. His attention, which had been crystal clear, was now split between preserving his company and ensuring that Sophia was content. Ethan arrived home one evening after a particularly taxing day at work to discover Sophia packing her luggage. Sophia had been working for a long time. "I'm leaving," she said in a direct manner. "You're not the man that I had imagined you to be. You're not just uninteresting, but you're also broke." It was a shock to Ethan. He pleaded with her to remain, but she only laughed at him. "Did you honestly believe that this would continue? You are of an age where you could be my father." Instantaneously, she vanished without a trace. A spiral of humiliation and devastation ensued for Ethan. The collapse of his business resulted in the loss of his house, his automobiles, and the lifestyle that he had worked so diligently to establish. Isolated and in a state of disrepair, he moved into a modest apartment. He often pondered Clara, thinking about her well-being and how she was doing. It was via common acquaintances that he learned that she had established a charitable organization that assists women in reestablishing their lives after a divorce. As he contemplated her achievements, his feelings of remorse only became more intense. She was doing well. When Ethan was in need of a new beginning, he made the decision to go to a park in the neighborhood that he and Clara had been going to for a long time. During his stroll down the well-known trail, he caught sight of her. There was Clara, who was reading a book while sitting on a bench. It was the first time he had ever seen her seem so brilliant, happier, and more at ease than she did. Despite the fact that he debated whether or not to turn back for a little minute, he ultimately decided to approach her. "Clara," he whispered back to her. She raised her head, her expression being indecipherable. "Ethan," she said, her tone still unruffled. They did not stop talking for a long time. Ethan apologized for everything, including the fact that he had abandoned her that he had taken her for granted and that he had failed to see what he had until it was over. The only thing that Clara did when he finished speaking was grin. She listened with patience. "It had been a very long time since I had forgiven you, Ethan," she remarked. "On the other hand, forgiving does not indicate that I want you back. I am not the same woman I was when we were together, because I have gone on to build a life that I like living. I pray that you are able to find peace, but it will not be with me." The words that she said struck him like a ton of bricks. He had anticipated that she would accept him back to provide him with a second opportunity. However, Clara had moved on, and he became aware that he would have to leave her behind as well. As Ethan made his way out of the park on that particular day, he had a peculiar sensation of consciousness. Despite the fact that he had lost everything, including his wife, his riches, and his pride, he had learned something that was very valuable: wisdom. Karma had, in fact, got other things in mind. It turned out to be a hard lesson in humility and self-awareness rather than the sense of vengeance that he had dreaded. Ethan devoted the subsequent several years to reestablishing his life, not as the guy he had been in the past, but as a more improved someone who had a deeper appreciation for the importance of love, devotion, and honesty. Even though he never found another love like Clara, he learned to live with the repercussions of his decisions. He did this because he was aware that sometimes karma does not punish. Rather, it educates. The process of self-discovery that Ethan undertook was neither simple nor instantaneous. Following his run-in with Clara in the park, he came to the realization that he was unable to escape the repercussions of his actions altogether. He had spent years trying to find pleasure on the surface, only to discover that it was sliding through his fingers like sand through his fingers. After that, he was resolved to start again in his life, not for the sake of riches or position, but for something that was far more significant: redemption. To begin, he was modest. Rather than taking a position as CEO, he decided to work as a consultant for a local technology business. He took satisfaction in coaching young business people who resembled him of his earlier self: ambitious, determined, but sometimes mistaken. Although it was a humbling experience, he found enjoyment in this endeavor. His failings were publicly discussed, and he hoped that others would gain wisdom from his experiences. Not as a strong businessman, but as a guy who had learned the hard way what actually important, he gradually started to restore his confidence. He did not do so as a successful businessman. During this time, Clara's charity organization continued to thrive. As a result of her assistance in reestablishing their lives after experiencing a loss, she had become a guiding light for a great number of women. While Ethan was pleased of her accomplishments, he was also acutely aware of the ways in which he had contributed to her development. He watched her work from a distance. It was not out of remorse that he made the anonymous contribution to her cause. Rather, it was out of true appreciation for the lady that she had become. One day, Ethan was surprised by a phone call that he received. No, it was Clara. It had a calm yet urgent tone to her voice. "Ethan, I am in need of your assistance," she remarked. He was really taken aback. Even though Clara had always been fiercely independent, the fact that she was reaching out to him was a huge indicator that she was trying to communicate with him. Her charity organization was establishing a new effort to offer poor women with training in technology, and she wanted someone with his skills to run the program. She emphasized that she required someone with his expert knowledge. Ethan did not waste any time. "Of course, Clara," she said. "It is everything you need," he said. It had been years since he had experienced a feeling of purpose that extended beyond his personal salvation, but he now felt it. He committed himself fully to the endeavor, working relentlessly to develop a course of study that would enable women to enter the field of technology. Despite the fact that it was difficult, It was also quite satisfying. He realized that the tenacity and perseverance of the women he worked with served as a source of inspiration for him, and as a result, he started to get a fresh perspective on his own challenges. Over the course of many months, Ethan and Clara realized that they were working together in a close capacity. They were no longer in the same relationship as they had been in the past. Rather, they were more like partners who were joined by a common goal. Naturally, there were times when the tension was high, but there were also times when the warmth was unexpected. They were sitting in Clara's office one evening, enjoying a cup of tea after having a very hard day. It was a particularly uncomfortable situation. The tone of Clara's voice was contemplative as she replied, "You've changed, Ethan. I am able to see it in the way that you hold yourself and the way that you speak about the ladies who are participating in the program. I used to believe that my life was ended, but now I realize that it was only the beginning of my journey. I discovered my mission, and I believe that you are discovering yours as well." Long after Ethan had left her office, the talk that they had continued to linger in his thoughts. Despite the fact that he would always be responsible for the consequences of his previous errors, he came to the realization that he did not have to be defined by them. Because of this, he had the opportunity to make a difference not only in his own life, but also in the lives of other people. A great success was achieved by the technological training program. As Ethan saw dozens of women graduate with the knowledge and self-assurance necessary to pursue professions in the technology business, he experienced a level of pride that he had never experienced before. While attending the graduation ceremony, Clara stood by his side, and for a little moment, it seemed as if they were once again a team, not as husband and wife, but as two individuals who had discovered a way to transform their suffering into something beautiful. Ethan and Clara maintained their friendship over the years, but they never resumed their love connection. Despite this, they remained close. Both of them had gone on with their lives, but the fact that they had a history together and respected each other formed a tie that could not be severed. Ethan continued to work with Clara's charity organization, and he even launched his own project to mentor young men, teaching them the significance of having integrity, empathy, and responsibility in their lives. However, it seemed that karma had not been about punishment, but rather about development. Following the loss of all that Ethan believed he desired, he came to realize what it was that he actually needed. And in the end, he discovered something that was much more significant than romance or achievement. He discovered who he was. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more inspiring content.